at the time of initiation, then Srila Gurudev instructs us to memorize the 10 offences to the holy name. And he says if you are successful in avoiding them, you will attain the goal of life. You will be able to chant the Maha Mantra properly. Radha and Krishna will appear in your heart. You will prosper in your spiritual life. You will attain super benefits, so many different ways, he charmingly described. So, these 10 offences are recorded in the Padma Purana, and they come from a conversation between Sanat Kumar and Lord Shiva on the top of Mount Kailash. As we heard recently, at Srila Acharya Dev's request, we've been working on the Prema Vivarta. And there is one chapter discussing these slokas, explaining that Lord Shiva, Narada, many sages gathered together, and by discussion of the offences to the name came about. And Sanat Kumar recounted them to Shiva, if I remember correctly. Or maybe she recounted them to Narada, I don't remember. Something like this. And he explains at that time not only the offences to the name, but the power, the greatness of the name. And he explains that you may have any sort of possible defect, but if you take shelter of the name, that will be removed. And there is also discussion of seva aparad, or offences committed in the course of worshipping the deity. And the conclusion is given that if you make seva aparad, but you chant the holy name properly, everything will be forgiven. But if you make nama aparad, that cannot be forgiven. That must be rectified. And then the final conclusion. Nama parad yuktanam namanteva harantyagam. That the name himself removes your offences against the name. A similar expression is found elsewhere. Bhumo skalita padanam bhumireva valambanam. That if we fall on the ground, then we push on the ground, we use help of the ground to get back up. Tvayijata paradanam tameva sharanam prabhu. If we make offences against you, we also require you to rectify them. This is found in Sharanagati. So, if we make offences to the name, it is ultimately by the power of the name that both the consequences and the tendency to commit the offense may be removed. So then, coming down further, right, the gist. The name is our only shelter. And how is it, so then the conclusion comes to Sharanagati. If we can wholeheartedly surrender to the name, then by and by our offenses to the name, our offenses in the course of worship, all things will be rectified. So, surrender. But how is that measured? Someone may say, oh, I have no shelter but the name. But is saying or professing that equal to actually being fully sheltered there? No. So what is the symptom? What is the proof that really someone has taken shelter of the name? And there it is explained that they constantly chant. They're constantly staying in the shelter of the name. So, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Iva Kevalam, Kalu Nasteva Nasteva, Nastiyeva Katiranyava. Right? Deeper meaning is there. Right? Sometimes we're running around with a bullhorn in a village. Hare Nama Iva Kevalam. All of you chant Hare Krishna. There's no other way. As though to say karma, gyan, yoga, forget it. Your puja, your astrology, your, cult social traditions, leave it all. Chant the name. Take shelter of the name. Follow the teachings of Mahaprabhu. Generally speaking, we're preaching this sloka like this. Good, no problem, very nice. But here, by this analysis of the 10 offenses, we come to a deeper understanding of this expression. And when you say, the holy name is the only way, there is no other way, there is no other way. No other way to do what? No other way to become free from our offenses. So, our surrender is shown by our tendency to take the name. Our feeling the name is our best friend. He's always there. He's always a source of solace. Ki shayani, ki bhojani, ki vajragaram. When we wake up, when we go to sleep, when we're eating, when we're resting, when we're working, when we're walking, He's there. We may pass our whole life in the midst of devotees, but never take shelter of the name, truly. Sadhu Sange Krishna Nam Ematruchai. We must have the association of devotees, and we must take shelter of the name. The name is ever-present ingredient in all worship, all devotional activities. The Gurudev was fond of one verse that's recited at the end of the second initiation sacrifice. Jarasanga Kriya Karma Janantarapya Jananta Tat Sarvam Purna Bhavatu Shri Hare Nama Kirtana. In the course of this sacrifice, in the course of this seva, in the course of this puja, in the course of getting out of bed, in the course of taking a bath, in the course of taking prasadam, in the course of doing anything or everything, I have knowingly and unknowingly made some offense, done some wrong. But all of that will be rectified by Hari Kirtan, chanting the glories of the Lord, chanting the name. So when we conclude the fire sacrifice, then we conclude with a kirtan. To say, surely we haven't done this properly, but our shelter is the name. With that we are hopeful and we are expressing our desire to avoid offense, please you. So this brings us to another important point. What is an offense? You may say, well, it's one of those things that said it's not allowed to do in the book. That's true. But why is it written in that book? Why is it that certain things are, quote, bad or to be rejected? The answer is that certain things don't please Krishna. Certain things don't make Krishna happy. And certain things make Krishna very happy. Very simple. So things that don't make Krishna happy, or that make Krishna happy less so than other things, they're called offenses. Things that do make Krishna happy, they're called services. So, Srila Sridhar Maharaj explained, aparad means apakrishta aradhana, shortcomings found in the course of service. Some service is to say the endeavor to please Krishna. In the course of endeavoring to please Krishna, there was something remaining that could have been done that would have been more pleasing. Is such a situation, is that unthinkable that such a situation could happen? Is it unthinkable that we could have done something that was more pleasing to Krishna than we did? Is that a strange idea? Is that an untenable notion? Rather, we consider it more often, rather always the case. Right? Talk to a writer. Talk to a painter. Talk to anyone who deals with the subjective, with the satisfaction of the heart and mind. Right? Are they ever thinking, this is perfect, this is complete, this is done? They're never thinking that. They're thinking, oh, well, in my next painting I'm going to do this. In my next novel I'm going to adjust things like that. They're going to fine-tune further to produce more taste. So whether we're an expert or whether we're a novice, either way, we never feel satisfied with our work. We're always rereading it and saying, oh my God, so many shortcomings. And people are seeing this? Oh, I'm embarrassed. So also with Krishna consciousness. How much can we please Krishna? It's unlimited. To what extent can we refine our ability to do things for His pleasure? It can be refined unlimitedly. So, in this way, the idea of aparad expands to the notion of imperfection, shortcoming, which is something perceived and felt by all devotees, liberated and conditioned. Or in the words of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Mahaprabhu and Radharani herself, they feel, oh, my service is imperfect. So, once Srila Sridhar Maharaj heard a conversation between some of his godbrothers. And one of them asked the other, will our anarthas ever go away? Will we ever overcome shortcomings in our service? And his friend, with a slight smile, but a sad mood, he said, no, don't ever go away. So in this light we can view all types of offenses. Right? Not only as black and white laws, this should be done, this should not be done, but also areas in which we can always improve. So, the first offense listed by Sanat Kumar, he says, to criticize the Vaishnava, to criticize the soul who spreads the glory of the name. That type of sadhu, he is the agent of the name. So can the name tolerate ridicule of its own agents, of his own agents? Cannot. Will the name give himself to you when you abuse his own agents? He won't. So, and there it says that this offense is the worst of them all, most dangerous. And we can also view it as inverse. If it's so that bad to criticize the agent of the name, then how valuable is it to serve them? How valuable is it to glorify them? How can I better serve and glorify the agents of the name? This is going on and on. Number 2 has 2 parts. 1, to consider the name different from the possessor of the name, Krishna. Krishna is non-different than his name. To think that there is a difference there is to slight the position of the name. Well, in the world, we have no proof of such things. Right? A name and a thing are 2 completely separate things. Right? A name, that's a word, that's an idea. A thing, that's a physical object. They're completely separate entities. this is our experience in this world. Or someone may object and say, how does this make any sense? Well, we can give a simple example from our worldly experience whereby it can make sense. Behind us here in our class today is Naveen Krishna Prabhu. We're happy to see him sitting here with us. And we know that sometimes he sits hidden behind this wall during the class. So, suppose, and I remember a little while ago, one day, we were sitting in the class, I did not see Naveen Krishna Prabhu here today. So I said, oh, where is Naveen? And then Naveen came out from behind the wall and said, oh, I'm right here. So, we said his name, and then he appeared. In this way, we can understand that a name has a relationship with a thing. By invoking the name of something, we can come in connection with it. Or even, suppose one devotee is sick, and he says, oh, I need whatever he needs. Maybe he likes Eno, maybe he likes Chira, maybe he likes Isab Gobo, maybe he likes grapefruit seed extract, whatever is devotee's favorite medicine here in India. And maybe he's in his bed, oh, I cannot get out of bed, I'm very sick. And someone says, oh, are you okay? I say, no, I'm very sick. I need this medicine. Then someone will go and get him the medicine. He said the name of the medicine, and sometime later the medicine is in his hand. When we deal in the conscious world, among conscious beings, the expression of a name leads to the attainment of what the name describes. So similarly, if we call the name of Krishna, then we'll eventually reach Krishna. We'll eventually come before Krishna. By virtue of the Vaishnavas' association and prayer. We hear Nama Chintamani, Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The name is a spiritual entity, spiritual being that fulfills desires. As a tree is said to fulfill desires, or a magical stone, whatever wishes you make over the name come true. And if your wish is to see the name's own form, he may grant it to you. So such faith that the name is none different than the Lord, and that by chanting the name we can come into the personal association of the Lord. And thereafter or therein find the qualities of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, the associates of the Lord, so many things. And also, the second offense relates to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is simultaneously a servant of Krishna and a form of Krishna. He is not different than Krishna and yet also different from Krishna. If we think he is independent of Krishna, then we will make offense. If we believe that though he is a form of Krishna, though he is worthy of worship, in a grand way, even befitting that of Krishna himself, we also remember he becomes so ecstatic taking the name of Krishna, he can't even remember whether his loincloth is still on. And that Krishna, he likes it when we worship Lord Shiva. He is very happy to see his devotee worshipped. And then we say, I'm a devotee of Krishna, enough with this demigod puja, get out! This will not make Krishna happy. Krishna very much likes to see his dear devotee Shiva worshipped. So, to have this type of understanding of the very high, very little bit mysterious position of Lord Shiva, as simultaneously a devotee of Krishna and a form of Krishna himself, worthy of worship offered to the Lord. Having this understanding, we will be able to chant the name. As Krishna has different aspects, Shiva also has different aspects. Sadashiva generally refers to the aspect of Shiva that is present in the spiritual world, who's eternally living in submission and in praise of Lord Vishnu, guarding his abode of Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavanavadipate Jaya Soma 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 Movina Sanandana Naradija Sanatana Sanandana Naradija Gopi Shara Buddha Julamri Padme Pritim Prayachta Nirupam Pritim Prayachta Nirupadikam Hare Krishna. May Lord Shiva grant us unconditional love for Krishna. This is our prayer at the feet of Lord Shiva. Srila Gurudev, Srila Saraswati Thakur many times quoted this prayer. He is worshipped by all the greatest sadhus and sages and rishis of the universe. He is Parvati's husband. He is the guardian of the residents of Braja. He is the caretaker of the land of Vrindavan. In this way we will see Sadashiva. But that same Sadashiva, in this world existing as Shiva, he is giving boons and fighting against Krishna in battle and helping so many demons commit atrocities against devotees, doing so many things. You're like, how can this be? But we can understand somebody's got to do it. Somebody has to do that job. Lord Krishna gives the souls free will and makes arrangements for them to fulfill whatever desires they have. Somebody's got to be the guy to, allow them to explore their freedom. And Krishna, he gives great instruction. You must honor his position. Even though it doesn't make sense to you, it may seem he even acts against me. You should understand, really he's my man. He is doing very important service for me. But Shiva, he also sometimes repents about this. When Gopakumar visits Lord Shiva, Shiva says, "You think I'm a devotee?" I'm Krishna's enemy. Haven't you heard about that? I favor so many demons. He has his remorse, his humility, as do all persons who know the sweetness of Vrindavan. And then, number 3, Gurvagya. To disregard Shri Guru, disobey, envy, disrespect, any such thing. Right? To what extent is the Guru worthy of worship? Yasya parabhaktir jatha devi tatha guru. He is worthy of worship just as much as the Lord is. This is stated in Upanishads. And in Bhagavatam, Krishna himself says, Acharjamam vijaniyam, I am the Guru. And if we go further into Rupanuga Siddhanta, then even Guru is offered more worship than the Lord. Guru's position is more prominent than that of the Lord. So, while it is an offense to disregard him, we can say, to what extent have we honored him? To what extent have we served him? This is an open question. We will always find shortcomings in that. We will every day see, I am failing to follow the order of my Guru. I failed the first instruction he gave me and every single one thereafter. He told me chant Hare Krishna and avoid the offences. Have I ever done that? He told me be humble, be tolerant, give honor to others. Can I do that? He told me read the scriptures. Have I understood them? He told me serve the devotees. Have I done that properly? Have I ever done anything? This way we may introspect. Then Shastra Ninda, to disregard the scripture. And the same principle is there. Have I honored the scripture? Have I adhered to its ideals in the core of my heart throughout all of my actions? Am I a real messenger of the scripture's message? Like this, a subject of practice. Then faith. Right? To consider the name imaginary, to consider its power exaggerated, descriptions of its power exaggerated. So, how strong is my faith in the name? Nam bole papachar. To think, because I chant the name, if I'm doing some wrong, no problem. It'll get, rectified by that chanting. This subtle difficulty can come in our minds. Though we know of the powerfying effect of the name, if we in any way think that powerfying effect can be what do you say, like aligned in such a way as to facilitate any type of selfishness of our own, any type of personal enjoyment, then we will be veering away from true chanting of the name. Then to consider chanting the name equal to other quote-unquote good things, giving charity, practicing austerities, behaving virtuously, these type of things. And we went last couple of weeks ago with Srila Charjamars to one program. They were opening a temple, right, and then in the middle of their place they had this sacrifice for world peace, and this big fire thing and all these guys. Vishva Shanti Yajna. So then they asked me, can you say something? When you speak, can you tell us the importance of this world peace sacrifice? I said, sure, I'll tell you all about that. And then, more or less my, talk is that, without chanting the name, without surrendering to the Lord, without a proper conception of the Lord, all this smoke, that's all it is. Teach the faithless about the name. Number 9. To in any way, so to speak, invite the name to be criticized. This is not pleasing to the name. Krishna, He allows the people free will. He is not forcing Himself on us. He's not happy to be, chanted, out of fear, things like this. Give Jai to our Guru, you don't get prasadam today. Is this supporting our Guru? Is this the way to make the mud peaceful? Chant Hare Krishna, or else you'll suffer in hell. Sorry, it just doesn't work like that. These are things that have to be invited into the heart. These are things that are invited into the heart as an expression of Sukriti, as an expression of divine fortune. In other words, as Srila Sridhar said, bhakti by force is not bhakti at all. So many Muslims are in Bengal. Why? Because they would have starved if they didn't become Muslims. So many Christians are in America. Because they killed everyone who wouldn't follow them. Is this, the work of the Lord? Is this Krishna consciousness? Is this Krishna prem? Is this selfless, loving sacrifice? Anything but. So it can't be forced. It's grace, it's fortune, and it happens naturally. And to act otherwise is disrespectful to the Guru, to the name, to whom you're, preaching about and glorifying. And finally, to not surrender completely, to maintain separate interests, notion of I and mine. And as Srila Gurudev said, many of these things, it seems we may avoid them, but to completely avoid any notion of I and mine, to completely surrender like this, it's very difficult. Srila Sridhar Maharaj answered, yeah. Yup. That's the rub, so to speak. Sorry, it's not a show. If you dress good, give lots of money and always smile, you don't necessarily win. Even if everybody says you're great, doesn't mean that you are. It has to be real. No one can deceive he who is in the heart of all. So that's our responsibility, to care about the truth, as opposed to what is socially recognized as truth. In other words, sincerity. To hear all the wonderful things there are to hear about the name, about Krishna, about Brajadam, about Nadia, about Gaura Sundar, and your heart doesn't melt, and you still want some pratishta in this world? What is wrong with you? You don't feel anything? Jai Priti Rahita say Naradhamachar, as Gurudev wrote. One who hears all of these things and still doesn't, quote, fall in love, they're wicked, man. Well, I'm the first on that list. It's a fact. Dasha Parad Koriya Varjan Jesu Jan Kori Harinama Sankirtan Apurva Shri Krishna Prem Labdya Tare Hoy Nam Prabhu Thar Hide Nitya Vilasai. But when a fortunate soul can leave all these offenses and chant the name of the devotees, then this extraordinary form of Krishna Prem given by Mahaprabhu, they will get it. And the name himself will dance in their heart forever. And as Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained, Mahaprabhu gave, Srila Gurudev emphasized, right? What's the recipe for this whole equation? All of these factors, 10 times this, so many offenses, so many versions, what is the equation? Break it down, cancel these equivalent factors, What do you got to do? Be humble, be tolerant, give honor to others, don't expect honor for yourself, and constantly chant the name. This is Mahaprabhu's recipe, formula, as Gurudev said. Follow this practice, and if you do so properly, all of the things we mentioned, you'll cross over them. You'll avoid them. And you'll attain pure devotion. So, right, rules and simultaneously areas to practice and try to improve. And the underlying principle being any improvement, any hope that we have comes from above. That only by grace, by higher power are we able to proceed towards that end. The name himself will supply the power whereby we can chant the name. Or in other words, he'll come and dance on our tongue himself, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote. So the whole notion of Sankirtan, Dharma, all of these things, we can whittle the whole thing down as Srila Sridhar did to Sharanagati, expressed as sincere chanting of the Lord's name. So, where are we? Right? We are very small. We are very far. We're in the midst of very big things, very big talk, very high subjects.